Well, good evening and welcome to our webinar, our February webinar. I'm Dr. Lee Sheldon, and I'm really happy that you've joined us tonight, and I think you will be too. We're going to talk about this is actually the beginning of a two-part series on external marketing. Of course, external marketing for a lot of us is websites, and that's what we think about first. But we should think in other ways first. You know, how many times have you had a campaign where somebody said, do this, you do this, and it doesn't work? Or we try a certain strategy and we try it and it doesn't work. Well, the reason it doesn't work is because certain principles that should have been followed aren't being followed. And so tonight we're going to talk about principles of marketing. What we do, you know, we all have dental treatment plans. We all do diagnosis. We all do that. The same thing happens in marketing. I think once we go through this seminar or this webinar, which is going to be the first of two webinars, one this month and one next month, I think you'll have a better idea as to what you can do and what you can do to help yourself and be able to make things more predictable. Our guest tonight is my marketer, if you will. He does my website, he does my magazine, he does my Google AdWords campaign. His name is Keith Gilleard. Keith has been in the market research business for many, many years, working with Fortune 500 companies. And then a few years ago, actually more than a few years ago, he decided to go into the into dental marketing, and I happen to know the first dentist that he worked with. And so I talked with him and found out the spectacular results that he was getting. So I hired Keith myself. Keith is great to work with, and I hope you'll, and I not hope, I know you'll get a lot out of what we're talking about tonight. Now, just for instruction, as Keith gives his presentation, you have a place where you can ask questions, and just look at that panel, probably on the right side of your screen, and type in your question. And as we go through the webinar, I'll be able to take a break, ask Keith some questions that you've typed in. So don't hesitate. As you think about it, type it in, and I'll get those questions to Keith as quickly as possible. So without further ado, I want to welcome Keith Gilleard. Keith, thanks for being with us tonight.
Oh, it's a pleasure. As you know, I like to talk, to chin-chin, to chat. But also to talk about marketing. It's a lovely subject to get to grips with and help you mold the world as you want it to become, as far as the progress and the achievements of your company, or in this case your practice. So thanks for that introduction, and hello everybody. I don't know who's there exactly, but hopefully there'll be someone. Lee never told me how many people were listening, so anyway, here we go. And if you can see the screen, it says the basic principles of marketing. And the reason why I'm not talking about what media to use or particular pieces of marketing information, you know, how you reach people with a particular medium, you know, whether it be TV, radio, postcards, brochures, internet, social media, all those things that you hear about. I know as periodontists, some of you may not have even marketed before or advertised. You probably marketed your services to other dentists, and maybe taking them for lunch, or had people go around giving them flyers and information about your practice, doing seminars to teach them things, and so forth. But to market to the general public who's not being told by a doctor that you're someone who can be trusted and that they trust you, and therefore the patient tends to trust the doctor's opinion because they already trust their own doctor. Because of that, you're looking at a quite a different person who will come to your practice from the street, as it were, without actually knowing anything about you other than what they saw in an advertising piece. So the more that you can understand about what is marketing, what are the disciplines that make good marketing of a product or service from the beginning to the end of them having the service delivered to them, and exchanging them their hard-earned cash for that service to you. Anyway, the more that you know what it takes to actually pull that off, to do that with enough people in enough volume that you can do very well with it, will save you a lot of heartache in investing in services or hyped up, smoke and mirrors type gadgets that in marketing that are for sale. People come from all. You probably have people even coming to you now that they'll say, oh yeah, we have this, that, and the other, and it works really well, and why don't you just buy it? Or the TV guy comes around and says, oh, advertising on TV is the best thing, just great. Look at all those people you reach. Or the radio guy, or the newspaper man, or the Yellow Pages person still trying to do it in print, even though they do have an internet version now. Or the postcard guys, or the we've got it all for branding for the practice guys, Anyway, it probably doesn't mean much to you when they say these things, and that is because as subject, as media, and to make ads for these things, you need to actually understand what it is that you're trying to do and how you get that done with marketing. So I probably said nothing at the moment that is of interest to you, but the reason why I went over that was because I've talked to hundreds of dentists, and it surprised me in the beginning that when I was talking about what we did, it was completely unreal to them. They didn't know the basics. A lot of I know some of you may know some things, and so I don't mean to offend you, but the majority of the dentists, about 90% of the dentists I've talked to, did not know what advertising was. They thought it was just sending out a postcard or putting an ad on TV or making a website. They didn't care that it was, a template website. It looked pretty. The newspaper ad actually had some writing on it and a photo maybe. The postcard kind of looked pretty. It was attractive, They didn't, but none of them knew that the message was the most important part of any advertising. And so what they actually said was the most important part of advertising. If you know what to say to someone about a service or a product, that's 90% of advertising. You have nailed it. If what you say resonates with that person and makes them want something, that's 90% of marketing. All the rest of it is just media buying and how do I reach that person and what form does my communication take. But that's another subject in media buying and distribution of your message. So I'm going to start by some basic principles of marketing. So marketing is a technology. There are three main steps to marketing. One, intelligence gathering. You do market research, including studying your competitors and surveys on your target audiences. So what does that mean? So before we do any advertising, we do our data gathering. We assume you don't know anything. Assume you want now to sell a service that you have of implants. You want to help people with their dentures. You know, you could place implants and have the dentures permanently fixed in, so they don't have to have the problems that you do with the unfixed dentures. So now you'd have to do market research. So you look around, like who else in your area is doing this sort of work? What kind of competition do you have? What do they say they do? What kind of prices are they doing it for? What type of work are they doing? Do they do all of the services that you could do? Are there some services that are not advertised by the competitors in the immediate area? What type of people are buying this sort of service? How old are they? Who are they? What do they read? What do they go online? And do people who have bought this, where did they go to find information? Where did they find it out? What did they ask? What was important to them? What was it that they put online even? What was the keywords that they used when they were looking? You could even, now, that's just general information. Now you can find some people who had that service, and you can say, why did you do this? What was it that you wanted to do? What was it that got you interested? When you had it done, what did you find? What was the most important thing to you about the benefits from it? What didn't you like? Did it work? If it didn't work, how did you fix it? Where did you go? Who did you see? What made you go there? All these things, and many, many other questions you can ask just of people and get information. And if 70 out of 100 people tell you a similar answer, then you know that by saying that to those people, in a broad advertisement that you don't know every single person it's going to, say it's through the internet, at least you know it'll resonate with 70 out of 100 people, or 700 out of 1,000 people if you do that many surveys. The survey being you ask questions of people on a subject to find out more in detail about it from their viewpoint. And you can also then do the number crunching type survey, where you're looking at who are these people, how old are they, what sex, are they married, do they have children, and that sort of thing, what's their income bracket, where do they live, and that sort of thing. And all those all that demographic data, which is basically information about people, their lifestyle, who are they, what do they do, and all that sort of thing. But you put all that together and you've got a really good view of who you're trying to reach. I'll put it in another, take it out of dentistry so you can see it better. If you say you were going to have a tire store on a main street, you live in a town, there's a main street, there's a couple of guys selling tires for automobiles, but you have this idea you'd like to sell high-end tires, to people, and you're going to be in competition. So rather than just opening up your store and doing what everybody else was doing, which was saying, buy 3, get 1 free, or, we'll give you lifetime warranty or something like that, then, we have, a lot of makes available. They're just guessing, and they're just doing these things. You could actually do a survey and say something simple like, you want to sell high-end tires, so you interview people who have Mercedes, BMW, Ferraris, Porsche, Jaguar, that sort of car, Cadillac, So you say, what's the most important feature of a tire when you're considering buying new tires? And you might get 70 out of 100 people tell you that durability is the most important part of it. So you think, oh, durability, great. So now, if you want to take it further and do a little bit of branding, a little bit of where you position your service with some imagery. You could say to another 100 people, what do you think of instantly when I say durable? Or what's the most durable thing you can think of? And you get like maybe 80 people say diamonds or something like that. So now, when you make your postcard, say you're making a postcard or an ad for the newspaper, you know that 70 out of 100 people consider, of the types that you want, for the tires that you have, want durable tires. That's the most important thing to them. It wasn't price, it wasn't warranty, it wasn't the make or manufacturer or anything like that. It was durable. So, or safety or anything like that. So now, you know that if you say in a headline, we have the world's most durable tires, that you're going to get attention. And if you want, you could have a picture of diamonds with a tire laying against it to get across the idea of very durable, because the diamonds meant durability in most people's minds. So now you have an image and you have a headline, because an ad needs to attract interest and get a message across in a fraction of a second. Otherwise, it's not going to be seen, heard, listened to, read, or anything. The difference, one of the main differences that you have in advertising to the general public is that very thing. Whereas when a person's being told by another dentist to contact you because they think that you're a good doctor and that they should go to see you because you can do what they want, they've already been told. They already have been. It's like they've seen, liked the ad, read the ad, and now have been making decisions of whether to actually go see you or not, which is way down the line on the general public. With the general public, you have to attract them, interest them, and get a message across in a fraction of a second, enough that they'll want to go on reading. So that's one of the factors you have to overcome as a periodontist, getting people to come to see you from the general public as opposed to being referred to you, because they already have the trust factor and an understanding of you from the general dentist who told them to go see you. So now, the message now, you can fill it out by saying what type of tires you have and an offer. And the offer is an important part of an ad, which I can get to in the second part. But you have an offer there, and now you say, so come to Joe's garage and we'll see you all right with. And from your marketing research, you've seen other things as well that are important to them, that they would demand, that they would expect of a tire service, like a warranty, good service, friendly people, friendly staff that care, and that you have good hours, that they can go see you when they're not at work, and so on, things like that. But you find all that information out from the marketing research. So now you've built up a whole understanding of the person that you're trying to reach. So now these kind of surveys and this type of data gathering is what we do for the dental practices and the specialists. So you can do that on the practice, on the doctors, on each service, each type of service, and down to this minutest detail if you want. So that is basically why you have to get the intelligence, why you have to get the data before you start to market. If you look at almost every marketing company for a dental practice and try and find out when they do their market research, you'll find that there isn't any. And that's what causes a lot of the marketing to not work very well or fail. Occasionally they'll hit it by accident and it'll be very successful. And another form of research also is just to see what and copy that, which is what most other marketing does. It's that kind of thing. But if it doesn't work, then there's no way to fix it because it was never done from a rational approach, logical approach, a data gathering approach.
Keith, there is somebody who has a question.
Yes.
You want to take a question now?
Yeah, sure.
Good. Sure. Jennifer, you have a question?
I know, because otherwise I feel like I don't know whether I'm reaching anyone.
Jennifer, do you have a question? I guess not. Jennifer raised. I've got Jennifer's hands raised, but go ahead. I may ask you a question along the way because, and let's just come to to dental things, and I think from a dental perspective, there were a number of different questions you asked my patients, not about the services, but actually you asked questions based on what they thought about me or what they desire or what they're looking for. And there was actually exact terminology that they gave, and we saw that 70% of people said something. Well, that was included in my ad.
That's right. That's right. When you're dealing with a whole website, there's a lot of different, and those, by the way, those high percentage responses are what we call buttons, and they're hot buttons in advertising. So, and a button being something you push and have a response occur. That's why they call buttons. So that's what we're looking for. Now, when you do a website, you have many, many, many pages about many, many different services and so forth. So we ask a lot of questions. Now, I can tell you some general. This next slide was studying your competition, differentiating your practice. Depending on the procedures you want to market and the area you're in, making sure you stand out from the competition can be important. You see, you might have 100 dentists all offering similar things to you, or 50 dentists, or 20. And they'll usually look and sound the same. That's one reason why we did immediately well in the dental field, because there were so many people doing exactly the same thing. There was no differentiation of one practice from another. They all had template websites. They all had saying similar things, and it was just, and they weren't really talking to the patient. A lot of people were just trying to get number one on Google and this sort of thing. I'll show you some funny things on that later. But so basically, if you're there as a periodontist and you have maybe another 5 or 10 or 20 periodontists in what you would call or like to have as your catchment zone, maybe 10, 15, 20, 30, 40, 50 miles around, you can go that far out if you advertise correctly. So you need to use that data that you find to make a statement about who you are and what you do that differentiates you from the other dentists. That is a very, 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 very important part of advertising a dental practice, because it's not like you have an exclusive service or products that you have in the general public's mind.
I do have another question. That was, we're talking about data gathering, and so the question is, do you have to hire a company to do that, or can you do it yourself? And if you did it yourself, what would you do?
Well, no. When we make websites, we do it for the client, because we were doing marketing research and surveys for companies like AutoNation and Acuity lighting brands, the top automobile dealership in America, and the top, it's in the top 2 lighting manufacturers in America. Just doing that research to find out the data that would be able to solve particular problems that they had. They make billions of dollars, and they're very competitive markets, and they use marketing research and surveys constantly to find not only what to say about particular products and service, but also to, like in the case of like Acuity lighting brands, they were using it to be able to find out more about LED lighting, which was coming into the marketplace, and it was very disruptive in their world. They have 32 different lighting brands, but they're all working on tungsten and that kind of mercury and all this sort of stuff, but not LED lighting. So we actually did all the research so they could work out a tagline and know what lighting designers and specifying engineers were actually interested in about LED lighting, so that they could remain number one in the field by saying things that resonated with these people and offering them products and services that they now would demand or need. Plus, we found out how to name LED lighting, and they use that in their national advertising. So,
so it is something that has to be done professionally. Is there something that we can do on our own, or you really need a professional survey to do it?
No, you could actually do it yourselves to some degree. I mean, you might not be doing top marketing research with, you know, hundreds and hundreds of people in special professions and in a way that you need to differentiate very minutely things. With dentistry, you could have even a little survey form in your own practice where you ask simple things like, you know, how did you find out about us? You could ask your own patients. In fact, we do that when we make a website. One of the surveys that we do every time for a practice, because we found that every practice is different because of who they are, their approach, their philosophy, the ethnic of the area, the morals, you know, all of those. There are different factors in each area, so we found each practice is slightly different or vastly different from another. So one of the ones that we do that we found very, very useful is that we do a survey of about 25 of the patients of the practice who've been with them a long time, or at least have been with them enough to have experienced some good services from them. And then you just ask them simple questions like, how did you find out about it? What was it that was said, or what did you hear that you liked enough to make you want to find out more or come in? When you came in, what did you like about the practice? What did you like about the doctor? What did you like about the service? Is there anything that you thought is there anything that could be provided that they didn't have, or that we didn't have if you're doing it yourself, that would make your experience better? All those type of questions. Very simple to work out, very simple to ask, but they give you some extremely valuable information. And you can then, by compiling a percentage of responses, pick the top ones and then do more of that. Or in your advertising, say more of that. And say that you have that. Or show it in the photograph. Take photographs and show it. See, some general buttons that we found, I'll tell you what they are. I mean, these are all, we found these constants throughout the USA. Even Holland, actually, we did some work there. Is for the staff, and the general tone of the practice is friendly, gentle, and caring. Those are three buttons that the staff need to have, the doctor needs to have, and in your advertising, if it's a website in this case, you show it with photographs. Show that you're putting a blanket on to keep someone warm. Smiling receptionist greeting the patient coming in. The doctor shaking hands, or even, you know, a hug on some patients. You know, friendly. In the operatory, showing a model of the implants and how it's going to go, or a big computer screen, and the patient smiling and laughing because it's, you know, explaining something to them. You know, you're caring. And so those are how you get across those simple, from the simple question of, you know, what did you like about our practice? If they say to you, well, it was very friendly, I loved that. Or, you know, the staff really cared about me. Well, if the majority of people say that, then you show that. So in this case, we've done thousands of surveys, and those come up all the time. And with the doctor, if you're specifically talking about the doctor, it's experienced, knowledgeable, and competent. Those always come up. If you look at your survey, Dr. Sheldon, that come up many times actually in the answers to the questions about what they liked about you. I have your survey here. I'll get to it in a minute, I guess. In fact, let's have a look.
Yeah, and I have shown this survey of lectures before.
It's here it is.
Let's see it. Go to my personal stuff and make sure you're showing the good stuff, Keith. I don't want to. No insult.
Nah, I've deleted the bad stuff. No, you didn't have any bad stuff. Oh, maybe one or two people complained about your prices.
Only one or two?
Yeah, it was very low down, actually. Yeah, almost everybody has a complaint about prices from someone. So, you know, found out about. Obviously, this was in the days when you had a referral from the dentist as well. What were the deciding factors on coming? Well, people said he was good. He has a good reputation in the community. Looking for implants, wanted implants. Saw that in the paper, so advertising was a good thing there. And the dentist told me that I should, you know, you're going to get this in the beginning because that's how most people got to the periodontist. But what do you like about doctors? He does good work, very knowledgeable, knows what he's doing, well educated. So you've got educated, experienced, knowledgeable, and competent. So you've got competent there, does good work, see. And look here, 68%. Dr. Sheldon is so cheerful, very friendly, nice, personable. He sings. Jokes around, great personality, pleasant, and so forth, right? That's, people really, really like that. Staff are very friendly. So again, it's those were the buttons that we found generally, you know, and that definitely panned out with you. What do you feel are the strengths of Dr. Sheldon? See, he does good work, competent, knowledgeable, knows what he's doing, is experienced. So experienced, knowledgeable, all in that there, well educated, attentive, listens to people. Ah, that's an interesting button. 40%. Takes the time to talk to me. Now that comes up quite a lot, you know, where the doctor needs to, you know, listen and be attentive and answer the questions and so forth. Again, competence, skill, knowledgeable, which is important for you for a dentist to provide who offers major dental work like implants or severe gum disease. So explaining things very clearly and so forth. So this can give you a blueprint of how you should work with people when they come to your practice. If you followed this, you would make the majority of the people who come to see you very happy indeed, and they would work very hard to be able to accept your treatment plan and pay for it. You wouldn't get people wanting to go somewhere else trying to find a cheaper person, you know, a cheaper treatment, because if you've treated them in a way and it resonates with them by you offering the things that they consider valuable, and you act in that way and you show that you are those things that they consider valuable, they will do their utmost to try and be with you. They won't. Money stops being, especially when you have high production services. It might mean something for whitening or for cleaning or drillings and fillings, but it certainly doesn't really affect the majority of people who want to do implants, for instance, where they're already going to invest a lot of money in it, and so a few thousand here or there doesn't really make a difference to them if you are that thing that they consider valuable in their view of the work and the service that they're going to purchase. So you provide those things to them, they will do their utmost to try and stay with you. It's like you know, the pain and pleasure theory doesn't work because you know, a person who has a girlfriend in the Himalayas and loves her, and is in England or Ireland or Iceland, he's going to do all he can to reach her. It doesn't matter how much traveling he does. If he has no money, he can't get an airplane there. He'll hitchhike. He'll work his way through Europe, through Turkey, and through, you know, Afghanistan, and dodge bullets and get to the Himalayas and climb up through ice or whatever he has to do to get to wherever she was. You know what I mean? It's like, if you're the item, if you're the thing, if you're the one, they'll do a lot to get you. And that's why I say the message and what you learn from the data gathering is so vitally important in marketing. I can't say, you know, too much about the importance of it. If you have that, David Ogilvy, one of the great marketing people in America, who started, is an English guy. He had one of the biggest ad agencies. They made hundreds of billions of dollars. But he said that a company that doesn't do marketing research is like a general who doesn't bother reading the messages sent from the enemy camp. So that's how vital it is to actually know who you're dealing with and what they need and want and consider valuable.
And listen, I'm not going to toot your horn, but I will. Because I've dealt with a number of different marketing companies, and you were the first ones who actually said, all right, listen, I want to talk to 50 patients, so you want me to give you a list of 100 patients, and you contacted 50 and found out exactly what they said, which is so totally different from what I'd experienced before.
Yes, it's a lacking ingredient. There are vital ingredients, and that is one of them, and it's very, very rarely done. In fact, I don't know any other company that actually does it in the dental field. I know when you're dealing with companies like Johnson & Johnson, 3M, BMW, AutoNation, lighting companies, Apple, all of they survey and market research constantly. They never stop. Anyway, and look how big they are. Anyway, so therefore you can use that data to differentiate yourself from the other practices that are advertising, but they're not saying what people want to hear. So now you're saying something that the people want to hear, and boom, you get attention, interest, and it all comes across in a fraction of a second. Hopefully I've got. Now sometimes there's not a lot of competition, so you don't really, you can do some fairly bad marketing and it'll work because no one else has happened to be marketing at all, or if they are very badly. So look, this is an example. I cut the name of the practice off, but this is supposed to be selling implants. Look, let's give you something like what? Dental implants. Oh, am I reading Wikipedia? What's going on here? Dental implants are designed to provide a foundation for replacement teeth that look, feel, and function like natural teeth. The person who has lost teeth for good. So it's like something you can find in any Wikipedia type thing. All the other all the other websites in that area have similar content. They're not. There's no differentiation there given for the practice. It doesn't even talk about the practice. It doesn't talk about the doctor. It doesn't say, well, the person looking at it isn't wanting to know where an implant is, what they're looking for. If they are, they're just doing research and they're not going to buy anything anyway at the moment. What they're looking for is for you to tell them why they should go and see you. So that doesn't do that, bad advertising. So, here's a good website. About our dental implants in Melbourne. Natural looking and feeling replacement teeth in one location. You've got 3 buttons there, all done in one place. They're natural looking and they feel natural as well. And they replace, their bad teeth. So that is something that talks to them. You got a picture of a friendly dentist who cares, is knowledgeable, is experienced, is showing the model. Well, we don't show knowledgeable here. We do that with the picture of the doctor with the certificates and whatnot, and other things like that. It's got the, you know, the X-ray machinery in the background. It's very clean. It's very nice, and the patient is happy. So you got gentle, you got friendly, you've got buttons, natural looking and feeling replacement teeth. It's all in one location, and so you're showing at a glance all of the things and why, and you're differentiating that practice from all the other ones who do that. You see the difference? So that's because we learned from people what they wanted, and we show that and say that. Look, you're going along, you're searching on the web for a practice, you see that one, you think, oh yeah. And you say, oh, this looks nice, you know. And now you're stuck on it, and then you want to read further. So, and there's an offer, you know, comprehensive exam, digital x-rays. You also have to some call to action. That's part of marketing as well, you know, advertising. Some call to action where you know, it's a deal, it's a saving, it's you can do a complimentary consultation. You know, you don't have to do the scan, but you could offer a free consultation to people who are interested, so they can find out more. You know, those kind of things work as well. So look, that's just using the data from the surveys. It's very important, and then bringing it to life.
Keith, I do
now
have
you can add videos. And
I do have a
yes.
question, and that is, the question is, do you survey the general public, or do you survey your own patients first?
Well, we've already, in our case, we've already done thousands of surveys on lots, you know, on people about dentistry. In the beginning, we did a lot of surveys on the general public without a particular practice in mind or in view. Like when, I'll tell you a story I don't know if you'd be interested, but tell me if you get bored. When we first started, I first started doing work with dentists in earnest in late 2007, but but I actually did work with some dentists because our clients had them as friends, or we had them as friends, or something like that, and I did it reluctantly. But in about 2001, a doctor was doing implants. He'd learned how to do them. He's a general dentist. He did a lot of sedation dentistry. His kick was to do, like, advertise that they do sedation and all this. It was a big thing in those days. You know, some marketing company had gotten onto the hype about how if you do sedation, people come in and all that sort of thing. Well, one, I didn't believe people went to see a dentist to get sedated. There must have been a button below that. And he wanted to sell people on coming to see him to get implants done, and there happened to be a lot of old people communities in the area where they were, in Southern California. So we did a survey of about 200 people. We actually went and stood outside old people's communities and we asked them the questions as they came out. And I found out a lot of information about implants and their attitude toward it, and what they would demand or expect of a dentist who delivered that sort of thing, and so forth. But I said, what is the underlying button? We had a series of questions that would find the underlying button on sedation, and what it was that all it was that they wanted to relax. The underlying button on the sedation, because sedation, when you think about it, is just giving drugs to people. People don't go to a dentist to be given drugs. That's like saying a pregnant woman goes to a hospital to be given drugs to cut the pain down. No, she goes to a hospital to have a baby in a safe environment that she's been told is the best way, and to have it delivered in the most comfortable way. but she says, well, I'm in pain now, so they offer drugs. But the same with the dentist. A lot of people get anxious on the idea of it, of having some operation on their mouth and all that, but all they want to do is relax. So that could be taken care of in a practice, actually. You don't even have to, even if you did sedation, fine. But you've no need to even do that, because if you have a relaxed approach to them, you have headphones and you can watch television. You're very friendly, and the staff all talk to them. I don't know, some practice offer a glass of wine, you have coffee, you just treat them really, really well. You talk about how this you have the best form of anesthetic without, you don't even feel it, and look, let me just show you, and you do it, and then you don't feel it, and then they go on, and you keep, you don't have to do it anyway. But the point is, on advertising, they want it to relax. So what we did was I found out what did people think of instantly when they thought of being relaxed, relaxing, what's the most relaxing thing they could do, etc. Turned out that being on the beach asleep was one top button, and another one was someone sleeping in a hammock, and a lady sleeping in a hammock. So what I did was, all I did was a big photo of 2 palm trees with a hammock slung between them on a white sandy beach with the sea in the background, and a pretty lady sleeping in the hammock. And the headline was, "Relax, come to see Dr. blah, blah, blah," and about the implants, and then we went into a little description of what it was, and then the services. And that was the most successful card he'd ever had, even though his then advertising company said to him that it would never work because it looked like a travelogue card, advertising some holiday, Anyway, he made about $7 million in total from that one card.
Yeah, not bad for one card. And that's what market research does, and that's what it's done for us too. I mean, that's why we have a larger number of referrals than we ever did coming from the website. I think it was something like 4 times as many. So it makes a big difference. There's a question also, Keith. How much data do you need? What volume of data do you need from patients before it's considered to be significant and something you'd want to include in an ad?
That's well, without getting into statistics, we know statistics, and the bell curves. You probably all know a bell curve. Anyway, it's where if you draw a picture of a bell, it could be fat or skinny, and it's got an amount at the bottom, and you can see the majority of, in this case, the majority of responses fall within in plus or minus 3% of the whole total and all that sort of thing. You can get into degrees of accuracy and the error and all that, but there's rules of thumb that you can follow and be pretty sure that it's accurate. And if you want plus or minus 3% accuracy, 95% of the time, you can do about 400 people if you pick and select the sample that you're going to survey well. You can do 100 once you know who you're dealing with and you've done the surveys before, and you know exactly who to get. You can do 50 or 100 and be quite accurate about the whole thing, because you're already now dealing with a known quantity. But you can do quite an open survey. The population surveys that are done to find out how the Democrats or Republicans are going to do, they're done only on 1,000 people by phone, and they reckon that they're accurate. within those error margins, 3%. So even when they do a whole population of the USA, they're only dealing with 1,000, 1,100 people. So if you do your sampling right, like if you're a periodontist, you don't want to be surveying adult. You don't want to be. Well, no, that's a bad example. If you're a if you're a orthodontist that likes to do braces and clear braces for children, you don't want to survey people with no children, adults with no children. It would be all right if you're doing adults who want to do braces only, but not if you want the family orthodontic work. And silly things like that. But like when I did the survey on the implants, for the majority of people that from my initial study of the field was that people, I think from 40, I can't remember exactly, it was 45 up to 65 or 70. 40, at that time, 2001, it was 45 to 75 were the majority of the people who would buy. But we also found that if they were married, it was the majority of the decision making was done by the woman, and the women were in that age group 45 upwards. We didn't go above 75. But if you do the survey on those people, then you don't really need to do that many. If you were doing a fantastically accurate survey, the most you would do in that field would be 400. Once you know about it, you can then narrow it down to about 200. And also, the reason why we do about 25 to 50 within the practice is that we already know, we've done maybe 3, 4, well, probably more now, maybe 5,000 different interviews with people about dentistry. So all we're looking for now is any differences between the practices that we know and this particular practice that we need to take into account when we're doing the advertising. So we're just looking for any additional data, any differences that show up. Like one of the questions, a lot of times we'll find out if there's anything about the neighborhood that they particularly like. If a majority of people like a particular landmark or feature, then we'll design the whole website around that particular landmark or feature, because it has a lot of, it makes people feel at home and feel comfortable. So that's a simple little thing, but it's very overlooked by almost all designs and so forth. It's just one way of introducing a feeling of reality with the people that are looking at it.
Yes,
yeah.
Go ahead. No, finish the thought, then I've got a specific question.
Well, the whole point on this is based on reality. Reality being the things that you can sense and feel and touch and in life, and that people hold firmly. Their world is made up of those components. You wouldn't be, if you're doing a lot of surveys like we've done all over the world, what you think the world is to you could be 180 degrees different to someone else in their values and so forth. So when you're doing survey, you're asking positively. It's like you like that person. You feel close to them. So now you want to ask some questions that get their reality about something. Once you have that reality that they have, even though you may have a completely different reality, you think that that's not important about that particular procedure. You think that's low down, and you have your own views about it, and as an expert and as a professional that is not the most important thing about it. You don't say that in your advertising. You say in your advertising what the person that you're trying to communicate to feels is the most important thing about that service or practice. Because You're feeding back to them the reality that they give you. So it's like when you meet someone who has the same values that you do, the same hobbies that you do, the same clubs and associations that you do, the same profession that you do, the same liking of a certain clothing manufacturer, or they use the same golf club, you immediately have a higher degree of liking for them than you do for someone else who didn't have those things in common with you. I'm sure you have experienced that. This is why when you find out from people those things that they find valuable, that they like, that they need and want, that they agree with, you can now say that you also agree with those things, and this is how you are, this is what you can offer them, and they immediately like you. They look at the other websites, they don't like you necessarily, because you're not saying anything to them that they agree with, that it's part of their life. So that's why when you do marketing research and surveys, you can talk to someone and when they read it and see it, they think of you as their friend. So their degree of liking for you increases. And if someone agrees with you and they like you, they're more likely to communicate with you, meaning they're going to call you for an appointment. So that is the reason why we do the research and surveys.
Yeah, I can't emphasize that. I can't emphasize that enough because you're right. I mean, all of us are proud of the fact that we can do grafts, and all of us are proud of the fact that we can do, build bone and do sinus lifts and put in implants and all that kind of stuff. And you know what? Patients want to establish a relationship with you first. There's got to be an emotional connection. And that's what a website has to do. It has to develop an emotional connection. And once the emotional connection is there, then you can talk about the things that you do or the patient or the things the patient needs. But the emotional connection has to be first.
Yes. That was
so
good.
I want to ask you a question on this.
Yes.
Those of us who are in the AIP are kind of saying, listen, the way perio has been practiced in the past, where we're depending upon referral sources in order to be able to do dentistry, that's passing, as patients with complex needs really need to see the periodontist first, and very often they're not being referred. And so therefore we're holding ourselves out. We're saying, listen, patient, if you have periodontal disease or if you have complex needs, you should be going to the periodontist first. So, I mean, that's our premise in the AAIP, as you know, Keith.
Yes.
Given that, is there any particular way, and I'm giving a leading question because you're showing my website right here, is there any particular way a periodontist should be marketing that communicates that?
That's totally up to you. Can approach, once you have the data and everything, you can approach it from different ways. That would be a good approach. It involves a little bit of education. It's not immediately, attract interest, get a message across, wow, I want it. You have to attract interest, get a message across to think, oh, this is important, and then go into that. And that does differentiate you from a general dentist. But the aspect of teeth in one location comes into this, where a lot of specialists, we're just dealing with one now in a maxillofacial surgeon actually in Orange County, Southern California, where he is doing very, very well. They do very well on their the patient referrals. That's all they do. They get referrals from other doctors, but the number of doctors who refer is shrinking because they themselves are now on for the implants. The trend on the people coming into their practice for wisdom teeth extractions, for instance, is on the rise, and that's not being affected because a lot of dentists don't want to do that. But the trend on the patients coming in to do implants is declining. it's just recently, even though I talked to him 2 years ago about this, just actually yesterday, he agreed that he needed to start marketing himself to get the implant patient. And he has so many differentiation points about being the right place to go. But the one factor that he didn't have, that a general dentist did have, and that is that they can do the restorations, whereas he's never done the restorations. So he, as part of the marketing plan, he has to find a good doctor who can come in and do the restorations and work in the practice. So you have a bit more to do if you don't already have that in place. Plus, the approach of when a general public calls a practice, they have to be handled completely differently from when a person comes and calls a practice having been referred by a doctor.
Oh, are you saying the right thing? because we spent the first 6 months of the AIP talking exactly about that.
Oh, good, because that is super important. And it involves, with this particular practice, a maxillofacial surgeon practice, training the whole staff on how to take care of the general public calling in.
That's right.
It is so different. They have to be gentle, friendly, caring. They can't answer the questions particularly. They have to get them in for the consultation so that you can see them and answer their questions, etc., etc., etc. And then talking to them, the doctor has to talk to them in a way that it builds up the trust that they didn't have, because when a general dentist refers someone to the specialist, they have trust already inbuilt. They already know to trust the doctor. Anyway. So you have all factors, yeah. So that was good that you do that. That's brilliant. So I think I've got a lot more to say actually, but it's getting on a bit here.
Yeah, it is.
I just looked at the clock. So sometimes interpretation is tougher, like dental implants in Las Vegas. So you look at all those, you know, this just shows you there's hundreds of them all wanting to do it, right? So you've got tough competition in the general world. It's different from when a doctor's referring people to you. It's very nice that it's some of the easiest sales. It's a flow that comes constantly, even though the number of dentists doing it is shrinking. When you go out into advertising to the general public, you have a lot of competition. So your marketing has to be done with the best standards, you know, the best disciplines in use, so that you can overcome quickly the competition that you have. That's just a page from Las Vegas on implants. You've got AdWords, all down the right, and the top three, and then you've got the map pins. There's 7 of them, and then these they look like they're directories on YouTube and things like that. Very competitive. So. Well, there's 3 main steps to marketing. So the step 2 now, having got the information, you need to create marketing items like websites, ads, direct mail, etc., that have messages that will resonate with the target audience. So I think maybe we should do that next time. As you said, that we had about an hour, and I think we've done an hour now.
We do. We can take a little bit longer, and I'll tell you, I've got some questions that have really come up. So let me give you some.
Oh, okay.
First question is, what keywords would attract potential patients to periodontist's office for treatment of the dental cripple? You know, which is what we're doing. We're treating the dental cripple. The person has mutilated dentition, or you know, what keywords we would use to try to attract the advanced patient? Is there such a thing?
Well, when you talk about keywords, you're not talking about the actual advertising, because if you go to Google, they have a tool, a free tool you can use. It's just called Keyword Tool. And you go there, you put in what are people who want dental implants, what are they saying, what are they asking, and then you get a whole load of words and phrases that people are using on that subject. So if you're doing, say, an AdWords campaign, you would pick all the keywords that actually got real dental implant people. Sometimes you can say a word or phrase, but you get people who would click on it thinking it's and it's disrelated subject just because the words are similar. You know, like a veneer. You know, you can get veneers, dental veneers, but you can also get wood veneers and so forth. So you work out what words will people be putting in, just in general looking for implants. There's no real keywords to differentiate at that time from periodontists and general dentists and so forth. But you could put, for instance, implants all in one location, or affordable implants, or dental implants in, and then put Melbourne dental implants, in dental implants Melbourne, implants and false teeth for dentures, implants for dentures, and so forth. You know, you just go through, put in a lot. You can put in hundreds and hundreds on AdWords. You can't do that with what they call search engine optimization, because you can't. You have to do a lot of work for every single word that you use. But with AdWords, you can put in literally, for the services you provide, you could put in 1,000 keywords and phrases.
All right, and I want to amplify that, because I was with an SEO company before I was with you. And
you
so,
were?
Yeah, and we, we were always made it to page 1 and all that type of thing. But as soon as we had a Google AdWords campaign that you developed, and actually I developed it with somebody else before I moved to you, and I found out that the Google AdWords campaign did bring people in. And so I went with a Google AdWords provider that was with, I hired them separately from my SEO website provider. And sure enough, I was getting more people in. The fact is that you can develop an ad with AdWords. You can say whatever you want, but you can't do that with with the organic listing that shows up. And so it is the AdWords campaign that I think really made a difference. Is that correct? Yes.
And if you think about it in terms of advertising effectiveness, if you had a website like that one, and then you have a website like that one, then when you do your AdWords, it brings up your ad on the first search page that people put the keyword in, that pulls up the ad. Now, the headline on the ad should be enough to let them know that that's what they're looking for, and they click on it. You pay your $2 or $5 or whatever it is automatically to Google. They make billions of dollars. Now you get onto the website. So is that website worth the $5 visit? Because if it looks like that, hardly anyone's going to respond to it. If it goes like this and then continues on page after page with all the testimonials and all the peer reviews and doctor reviews and so forth, now they're going to call for an appointment. So AdWords, not only can you control the number of people going to your website with it, but if you have a good website, you get a good percentage of them calling for an appointment. And if your internal handling of that reach, the person calling in for the appointment, is good, you will then close them, they will do their treatment, and you'll make a lot of production from it. Yeah, and that's absolutely true. Now, there are some people who have recently updated their websites. Is there a way, without
converting everything to a new website and going with you? Is there a way they can have landing pages or do something to augment their existing websites to make them a little bit better?
Well, yes. There are different ways of marketing. You don't have to do it through a website, although having a website tends to prove that you exist nowadays. But we have, like, for instance, a brochure that we call a magazine, which is all about the practice, and basically will present in 12 or 16 or 20 pages the whole view of the practice, just like the website does, with a lot of testimonials and slice of life stories and pictures of the product, showing the competence of your work, the people smiling, telling you how their life changed, etc. All that goes in a magazine, and that's just done through direct marketing, through direct mail, or putting into supermarkets and so forth. Just getting it to people of the right demographic. There are various ways of doing cheap mailings to reach very specific types of audience, and that works very, very well. And people will call from that alone, and they'll also go to the website, and the website, number of people visiting the website will go up. Depending on how, even if it's remotely good, you'll get increased people calling in from the website as well. At that point, you'll usually be doing fine with the production, and then you should then invest in a really good website as well to work synergistically with the direct mail. And that is the part of building up a marketing campaign, which I also need to go into. But basically, a marketing campaign would be where you have more than one sales piece going out, more than one advertising. You build it up. You build it up, strength upon strength, to get in the number of new patients that you want coming into your practice of the type that you want, to match the goals that you have for your own self and your own practice and so forth. We have one client in Atlanta, Georgia, that we've been working with them for about 6 years now, and he said I could say this. They started with 140,000 a month. He was already doing fine, good practice. Wanted to do a lot more implants. Eventually then wanted to do, as they learned, bone grafting and so forth. He was learning the whole time, going to seminars and educational establishment, and then doing all on for the dentures and so forth, and hiring a prosthodontist and a periodontist to come to the practice 1 or 2 days a week. And so it built up from 2 doctors to 5 in the last few months, and they were only part-time, the last 2, so it was basically a hub of 3 doctors. They were consistently making $500,000 a month because of the marketing, specifically on the high production cases that they wanted to make the practice go in. And now they're expanding out another 4 operatories from their already existing 10. Same thing happened in Birmingham, Alabama. They had 10 operatories, but only filling up 5 of them. By just doing good marketing with their web, they started doing really, really well. Then they did a magazine, and then they filled up the whole 10 operatives. And now they're buying. It's their own building, but they're moving the person in the part of it to a separate building that they're building on their land, and they're going to have another 10 operatories there as a specialist unit, like an implant center. So